Hello students, welcome to SR Concepts. In this video we will discuss the in-text questions of chapter 3, that is atoms and molecules, from the chemistry of class 9th. So the first question is, in a chemical reaction 5.3 gram sodium carbonate reacted with 6 gram of acetic acid. The products were 2.2 gram of carbon dioxide, 0.9 gram water and 8.2 gram of sodium acetate. Show that these observations are in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. So dear students, here a chemical reaction is given in which sodium carbonate is reacting with acetic acid, and the products which are being formed are sodium acetate plus carbon dioxide plus water. Their masses are given, means the masses of reactants and the masses of products are also given. We have to find out that these masses, right, are in accordance or in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. So what is the law of conservation of mass? First of all, we need to know that law of conservation of mass states that in a chemical reaction, total mass of reactants is equal to total mass of products. Total mass of reactants is equal to total mass of products. So these are the reactants, sodium carbonate and acetic acid. These are the reactants, and these are the products, sodium acetate, carbon dioxide and water are the products. So dear students, if the mass of total mass of reactants and total mass of products come to be equal, then the data in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. So let's check what is the total mass of reactants. The total mass of reactants is equal to mass of sodium carbonate and mass of sodium acetate. That becomes 5.3 gram. Here is the 5.3 gram and 6 gram the mass of acetic acid. So the total mass becomes 11.3 gram. Okay, so now we have checked the total mass of reactants. Now let's check what is the total mass of products. Total mass of products is mass of sodium acetate plus mass of carbon dioxide plus mass of water, which are formed as a product, right? So as you know that the mass of sodium acetate that was produced is 8.2 gram, mass of carbon dioxide is given as 2.2 gram and mass of water is given is 0.9 gram. So total becomes 11.3 gram. So as you can see that in the above reaction, LHS is equal to RHS, means the total mass of reactants is equal to total mass of products, that is 11.3 gram. Hence the observations are in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. Now let's move on to the next question. Hydrogen and oxygen combine in a ratio of 1:8 by mass to form water. What mass of oxygen gas would be required to react completely with 3 gram of hydrogen gas? Right. So dear students, as you know that law of chemical combinations, in these laws of chemical combination there is a law that is called law of constant proportions. That law states that whenever two or more elements combine to form a compound, the ratio of their masses is always fixed, or we can say they combine in a fixed proportion to make a particular compound. So as we know what is given, that when hydrogen and oxygen combine to form water, they always combine in a ratio of 1:8 by mass. That means 1 gram of hydrogen combines with 8 gram of oxygen. Means for making water, during hydrogen and oxygen are combining and making water, so during this chemical reaction, for each 1 gram of hydrogen there should be 8 gram of oxygen. So hence if we are given with 3 gram of hydrogen, so if 3 gram of hydrogen has to combine with oxygen, then how much oxygen will be required? That will be 3 into 8 equal to 24 gram oxygen, right? So if there is 1 gram hydrogen, then 8 gram oxygen will combine and total mass of water that will be formed will be 9 gram. But if there are 3 gram hydrogen, 3 into 8 equal to 24 gram oxygen will combine, and the total mass of water that will be formed will be 3 plus 24 equal to 27. So the answer is 24 gram oxygen will combine with 3 gram hydrogen to make 27 gram water. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Which postulate of Dalton's atomic theory is the result of law of conservation of mass? So the postulate of Dalton's atomic theory, which is the result of law of conservation of mass, is that atom can neither be created nor destroyed. That means atom is indivisible. So this is why the law of conservation of mass is true, because law of conservation of mass says that mass is neither created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. That means the total mass of reactants is equal to the total mass of products which are formed. This is because during the chemical reaction, the atoms of reactants do not get destroyed or do not change. Actually, the atoms just break the bonds between them and make new bonds, new combinations, so that new compounds are formed or products are formed. So during a chemical reaction, there is no destruction of atom or creation of atom. Actually, the atom is neither created nor destroyed. So this is the postulate of Dalton's atomic theory, that is a result of law of conservation of mass. Now, which postulate of Dalton's atomic theory can explain the law of definite proportions? So which postulate of Dalton's atomic theory? This is the relative number and kinds of atoms are equal in given compound. This is the postulate from the Dalton's atomic theory that explains the law of definite proportion. According to this postulate, what is said, that a relative number and kinds of atoms are equal or are the same in a given compound. That means in a given compound, suppose if we talk about water, that is H2O, so the type of atoms, that is hydrogen and oxygen, and relative number, that is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, right? So this will always remain fixed in a given compound, that is always same. So this equal, in place of equal, this should be same, right? So it should be same. Okay, now the next question, define the atomic mass unit. What is atomic mass unit? Just students, we discussed that 1/12 the mass of one carbon 12 atom is 1 atomic mass unit. This is the unit which is used for measuring, actually for expressing the relative atomic masses or molecular masses of the substances. Okay, next, why is it not possible to see an atom with naked eyes? Obviously, because the size of an atom is very small, that is measured in angstrom or nanometers. So that's why they are very small, they are extremely small. That's why we are not able to see them. Next, write down the formulae of sodium oxide, aluminum chloride, sodium sulfide and magnesium hydroxide. So dear students, for example, we are given with sodium oxide. We know that there are two constituents, one is sodium and the other is oxide. We know that the valency of sodium is 1 and valency of oxygen is 2. We will cross it, right? And what will happen? Na2O, this will become the formula of sodium oxide. In the same way, aluminum chloride, if we talk about aluminum chloride, once again we know that there are two constituents, one is aluminum and the other is chloride, right? So first we will write the symbol of aluminum, then we will write the symbol of chloride, right? That is only Cl, right? We will write their valencies here. For example, the valency of aluminum is 3 and the valency of chloride ion is 1, right? We will cross it and we will come to the conclusion, that is AlCl3, right? AlCl3. So we can in this way we can write the formulae. In the previous video, in one of the video, a whole procedure of how to write the chemical formula is given. In the same way, sodium sulfide Na2S and magnesium hydroxide MgOH whole twice. Now if we talk about the next question, write down the names of compounds represented by following formulae. Right, here what we have to identify by looking at the formula, you have to identify just the constituents, right? For example, Al is the symbol of aluminum, right? Aluminium. And this SO4 is the symbol of sulfate, right? So this is the name of the compound becomes aluminum sulfate. So you need to memorize the names of different constituents. Okay, next look at the next the second one, that is calcium, and this is CaCl2, right? So here again you have to identify that Ca is the symbol of calcium and Cl is the symbol of chlorine, that is chloride. So this becomes calcium chloride. So this name of the compound becomes calcium chloride. In the same way, if we talk about this third one, here you will identify that K is the symbol of potassium and SO4 is the symbol of sulfate. So the name becomes potassium sulfate. So here you can see all the names are given, right? Calcium, aluminum sulfate, calcium chloride, potassium sulfate. Now again K for potassium and NO3 for nitrate, so potassium nitrate. In the same way, calcium carbonate, CO3 is carbonate, so it becomes calcium carbonate. This is how you will find out the names of the compounds by looking at their formulae, right? What is meant by the term chemical formula? What is a chemical formula? It is a symbolic representation of the composition of a compound. So chemical formula of a compound is actually the symbolic representation of the compound, of the composition of the compound. For example, if we talk about this symbol, that is CaCO3, calcium carbonate, CaCO3. So this shows how one molecule of the compound is constituted or how the overall compound is composed. For example, it is showing that there is one calcium atom, one carbon atom and three oxygen atoms. So this composition is being shown by the chemical formula. We can also calculate the percentage of different elements in a particular compound by looking at the chemical formula, right? By considering the atomic masses of different atoms, we can calculate this one also. That also has been taught to you. Okay, next, how many atoms are present in H2S molecule and PO43, that is phosphate ion, right? So let's look at the number of atoms of different elements in the particular molecule of H2S. In H2S molecule you can see there are two hydrogen atoms and one sulfur atom. So two hydrogen atoms and one sulfur atom becomes, total number of atoms becomes 3. In the same way, in a phosphate molecule, here you can see not a molecule, but this is an ion. So in a phosphate ion you can see there is one atom of phosphorus, and 4 atoms of oxygen, so the number of atoms becomes 5 atoms, right? Now calculate the molecular masses of hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, carbon dioxide, methane, ethane, right? So there are a number of compounds are given, elements and compounds are given, and you have to find out their molecular masses. So you know, molecular mass is the sum of atomic masses of all atoms present in a particular molecule, right? For example, if we talk about this one, hydrogen, if we talk about the molecular mass of hydrogen, that is the mass of one hydrogen molecule, then 2 into atomic mass of hydrogen, so 2 into 1u, that becomes 2 unit or unified mass. In the same way, molecular mass of oxygen, you know there are 2 oxygen atoms and atomic mass of oxygen is 16, so 2 into 16 becomes 32. In the same way, molecular mass of chlorine, there are 2 atoms of chlorine, so 2 into 35.5, 35.5 is the atomic mass of chlorine atom, right? So it becomes 71 unified mass. Then molecular mass of carbon dioxide, you know there are what you will do, that atomic mass of carbon into 2, atomic mass of carbon into 2 plus atomic mass of oxygen should be done, right? So sorry, this is right as it is written here. This is the atomic mass of carbon. There is one carbon atom, so atomic mass of carbon plus 2 into atomic mass of oxygen, because oxygen, there are two atoms of oxygen. So 12 plus 2 into 16 becomes 44. Now next one, look at the next one, the molecular mass of methane. Atomic mass of carbon plus 4 into atomic mass of hydrogen, because there is one carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms. So it becomes 12 plus 4 into 1 equal to 16 unit. In the same way, molecular mass of C2H6, that is 2 into atomic mass of carbon plus 6 into atomic mass of hydrogen, that becomes 2 into 12 plus 6 into 1, total becomes 30 unified mass. Molecular mass of C2H4, right? Here you can see this is ethylene, right? So 2 into atomic mass of carbon plus 4 into atomic mass of hydrogen, because there are 4 hydrogen atoms and 2 carbon atoms. So 2 into 12 plus 4 into 1, total becomes 28. Okay, look at the next one. Molecular mass of ammonia, that is NH3. Atomic mass of nitrogen plus 3 into atomic mass of hydrogen, because there is one nitrogen atom and 3 hydrogen atom. So 14 plus 3 14 plus 3 into 1, that is 17 unit. In the same way, molecular mass of CH3OH, that is methanol. So atomic mass of carbon plus 3 into atomic mass of hydrogen plus atomic mass of oxygen plus atomic mass of hydrogen. So total becomes 32 units. So this is how you will calculate the molecular masses. So what you need to simply do, you need to find out the sum of the atomic masses of all atoms, right? The masses of all atoms need to be summed up, right? Then only you will get the molecular mass. Next question, calculate the formula unit masses of zinc oxide, sodium oxide, potassium carbonate. Given atomic masses of zinc, sodium, potassium, carbon and oxygen. So the atomic masses are given. So dear students, on the basis of this, how we will find out? As you know that formula unit mass is calculated in the same way as molecular mass, right? So we will just sum up the atomic masses of all atoms present in these ionic compounds. So ZNO is an ionic compound, so that's why we are using the term formula unit mass. How we will calculate? As we see that in one formula unit of ZNO, there is one atom of zinc and one atom of oxygen. So the atomic mass of zinc is 65. So 65 plus atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So total becomes 81. In the same way, formula unit mass of sodium oxide, 2 into atomic mass of sodium plus atomic mass of oxygen. Total becomes 2 into 23 plus 16. Total becomes 62. Okay, next question. If 1 mole of carbon atom weighs 12 grams, what is the mass of 1 atom of carbon? Right. So you know that 1 mole carbon atoms is equal to 12 gram, and you know that 1 mole of carbon atoms means 6.022 into 10 to the 23 atoms. So what if we divide 12 gram by this number? You will find the mass of 1 carbon atom. So the mass of 1 carbon atom becomes 12 divided by Avogadro's number, and the total becomes 1.99 into 10 to the minus 23 grams. So this is the mass of the absolute mass of 1 carbon atom. Okay. Next, which has more number of atoms, 100 gram of sodium or 100 gram of iron? So what you need to find out? You need to find out the total number of atoms in 100 gram sodium and total number of atoms in 100 gram of iron. So this is very easy. There are two methods by which we can do. Let's look at the first method. In the first method, what we will do, as you know that the molar mass of sodium is 23. Okay, if we want to calculate the number of atoms in 100 gram of sodium, we must be knowing the molar mass of sodium. As you know that 23 gram is the molar mass of sodium. That means 1 mole of sodium contains 6.022 into 10 to the 23 atoms. right? So 23 is actually the molar mass of sodium, and 1 mole of sodium will contain this much number of atoms. So what we can say, if 23 gram of sodium contains this much number of atoms, 1 gram of sodium will contain this much divided by 23. And if we want to find out the number of atoms in 100 gram of sodium, then 6.022 into 10 to the 23 atoms into 100 divided by 23, and the total number of atoms becomes 2.6182 into 10 to the 23 atoms. So in the same way, we will find out the number of atoms in 100 gram of iron. We know that 56 is the molar mass. That means 56 gram iron will contain this much number of atoms. So the number of atoms in 100 gram is this much, as we have calculated here. Now we can compare this much. This number is much bigger as compared to this number. So we can say that 100 gram of sodium will contain more atoms as compared to 100 gram of iron. So 100 gram of sodium has more number of atoms. There is another way of doing so. We have to just simply find out the number of atoms in 100 gram of each of these elements. So what we can do, first of all, we can find out the number of moles and then multiply the number of moles with Avogadro's number. So how we can do this? If we want to find out the number of moles, that is small n is equal to given mass upon molar mass. For example, if we want to find out the number of moles in 100 gram sodium, then 100 gram divided by molar mass is 23. So this becomes the number of moles. This becomes the number of moles. And if we multiply it with Avogadro's number, that is n0, then the total number of atoms will be find out. In the same way, we will find out the total number of atoms in 100 gram iron, and then we will compare which number is bigger and we can give the answer. So what basically need to be done in this question, we have to simply find out the total number of atoms. And for finding out the total number of atoms in 100 gram of sodium or 100 gram of iron, we can do this in this way, that number of moles is equal to molar mass upon given mass upon molar mass, right? And then the number of particles N will be equal to number of moles into Avogadro's number. So this is how these two formulae we can use, and we can calculate it very easily. Dear students, exercise questions will be covered in the next video, and please please do these questions in your fair copy and practice them at least 3 times, so that you memorize, the concept becomes very clear to you, and you have a good command over the calculations. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Please like it and share it if you really like.